Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at the test for positive ions and negative ions. And we can distinguish between how to test for positive ions, the results that we're going to expect to see, how to test for negative ions, the results that we expect to see, and how we can combine those. So, first of all, we're going to look at the positive ions. Okay, and this can be split into two types. So we've got flame test, and we've got reaction with sodium hydroxide solution to get a precipitate. So if we look at an ion, we would be able to use these tests, either one of them or in combination, to identify what the ion present is. So if we look at flame tests, we've got our Bunsen burner, and depending on the metal that we add, we get different colours. So if we add calcium, we get red. Okay, if we add sodium, we get yellow. If we add lithium, we get crimson. If we add potassium, we get lilac. So we've got different colours for each of the ions present. Okay, remembering that sodium is yellow. Okay, so we get different colours for each of the ions present. Obviously, these tests need to be done with the solid sample, and we're going to ensure that our needle is clean and is sterilised so that we're not going to get any cross-contamination. And we would do that with hydrochloric acid and clean the needle first. Okay, that's important because we need to ensure that our sample is pure and we're not getting any false results. Okay. So then if we look at sodium hydroxide, we can see, depending on the solution that you've got, we can look at what results we're going to expect to see. Okay, if we have Fe2 plus ions, that's going to go a green precipitate. If we've got Fe3 plus ions, that's going to go to a brown precipitate. If we've got copper 2 plus ions, that's going to go to a blue precipitate. And if we've got either calcium 2 plus or aluminium 3 plus ions, that's going to make a white precipitate. Right, so we would need to find a way to distinguish between the aluminium 3 plus ions and the calcium 2 plus ions. Well, we remember that calcium also gives a red flame test, so you would need to do both of those tests to distinguish between calcium ions and aluminium ions. There is one final test that you need to look at for the positive ions, and that is the presence of NH4+, which we call the ammonium ion. we would need to make sure that we heat this up with a Bunsen burner. Okay, and we would get steams of gas given off as we heat it. That gas that we get given off is ammonia. Okay, and we'd add some litmus paper to that, and the litmus paper would turn blue. And the reason why the litmus paper would turn blue would be because the ammonia is an alkali, and it's going to turn the litmus paper blue because of the presence of the alkali. Okay, and then we can also go and look at the negative ions. Okay, predominant examples are for our halides. Okay, so we can have the presence of bromide ions, chloride ions, or iodide ions. Okay, and we're going to add silver nitrate into each of these. Okay. We could also have fluoride ions as well. In the presence of silver nitrate, bromide ions go green, chloride ions go white. Okay, so chloride ions go white, iodide ions go yellow, and fluoride ions will form no precipitate at all. So we can test the presence of each of these ions. If we get a white precipitate, we've had chloride ions. A cream precipitate, we've had bromide ions. A yellow precipitate, we've had iodide ions. And no precipitate, we've had fluoride ions. Okay. We can also have carbonate ions and sulfate ions. Okay, so carbonate ions we can test for by adding HCl, and that's going to give us carbon dioxide given off, and that can obviously be tested with lime water, and the lime water is going to go cloudy. Okay, we can test for the presence of sulfate ions by adding barium chloride, and we're going to make barium sulfate in that reaction as a precipitate, which gives a white precipitate. Okay, so we can test for positive ions using either the flame test or sodium hydroxide and getting a precipitate, or we could test for the negative ions for the halides using silver nitrate, getting no precipitate with the fluoride, white precipitate with the chloride, green precipitate with the bromide, yellow precipitate with the iodide, presence for the carbonate ions by reacting with hydrochloric acid and getting carbon dioxide given off, which will turn lime water cloudy. Test for a sulfate ion by adding barium chloride, which is going to react to make barium sulfate, which gives us a white precipitate.